Some time ago, I reviewed an interview of Ryan Balch by Hair of the Dog. Hair of the Dog is a couple of people that interview people. I think they're local to Wisconsin, I'm not sure. During the interview, the host of Hair of the Dog discussed something about insurance that really kind of caught my attention. So let's go ahead and take a look at this.
Lost 2 million. And as a business owner, I just want to clarify for people, when you purchase an insurance policy, and every business owner should have one, whether it's liability or not, the price is about $150 for 6 months, and that's for millions of dollars of coverage. Within that policy, depending on who you buy it from, is a loss of revenue, kind of an act of God clause. So these businesses who have insurance, while they're going through this, and it's heartbreaking, insurance policies should cover it. So for my personal view, this is me as a business owner, $150 is a lot less than the value of someone's life. So I want to put that point out there so people can remember when we're talking about rioters, the difference between rioters and protesters, that this is the purpose of insurance. And if you're a business owner and you don't currently hold a policy, I am certain that there are insurance brokers in your neighborhood who would love to talk to you.
Oh, yeah, they'd love to talk to you, all right. I think she badly misunderstands how insurance works when you actually have a claim. A lot of people who have insurance go by what they think will happen if they actually have something go bad. For example, you may think you have full coverage on your car insurance. Yeah, think again. It's not always like that. You'll find out what your coverage is like when something terrible happens. And so it goes with Kenosha. You have businesses being burned to the ground, and people are coming in and saying, well, it's insured. It's no big deal. Or is it? Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnnie Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnnie Walker Dread Show.
So here's an article by a publisher called The Daily Signal, and it says, Kenosha auto dealer says insurer won't cover riot damage. Let's go ahead and read this. Will insurance cover the losses when businesses are destroyed by rioters? As some commentators contend, one business in Kenosha, Wisconsin is about to find out. 2 months ago, rioters torched the Car Source automobile dealership in Kenosha, Wisconsin, leaving behind a small sea of charred vehicles. I think there's about 137 of them in total. The family business is one of over 40 businesses in Kenosha that were destroyed during 2 nights of riots directly following the August 23rd police shooting of Jacob Blake. Now, I'm not going to go through what happened with Jacob. We all kind of know, so I'm going to skip ahead. After vandals burned 137 vehicles, I was right, on the Car Source lot, co-owner Anmal Kindry contacted his insurance company to find out what it would cover. Oh no. The company informed Kindry that his insurance doesn't cover damage caused by riots, Kenosha News reported. This is a truly sad video. I'm just going to get a little bit of a warning ahead. This is going to be very unpleasant. Our insurance company is finding their way out so they don't have to pay for all this arson, Kindry wrote on CarSource's GoFundMe fundraising page. He has to set up a GoFundMe page because he's out. He's bankrupt at this point. You'll see why. Now Kindry is working with a lawyer to convince his insurer to cover at least some of the damages, at least some of it, which he estimates to be a total of $2.5 million. Kindry did not respond to the Daily Signal's request for comment on the situation. So you think, well, ultimately, he'll get his money. Well, he's not going to get all of the money. He's going to be out a lot of money here. Keep in mind, he had, let's say, $2.5 million in cars there on that lot. But that doesn't mean he took $2.5 million out of his pocket and paid for them. He's got loans on that, and he's going to have to pay those loans. So he's in serious financial trouble here, but it gets worse. However, Kendry told Kenosha News that the city is pressuring him to clean up his lot and remove the burned vehicles. Boy, have we seen this before. For example, in Minneapolis, when they had the riots there. And what happens is you lose your business. It gets burned to the ground, but you still have to clean up that. And if you don't, they will start fining you. So it starts to build up pretty quickly. He didn't do this. John Morrissey, director of Kenosha's Department of City Inspections, told Kenosha News, "We understand that, but he does have to clean it up." But here's where the problem is. So you have to clean up this mess, but the insurance company doesn't necessarily want you to. Let's read on. But the problem is, Kendry told the newspaper, if something does go through, the insurer adjuster is going to come to look at the cars and assess the damage. The adjuster can't do that if the owners remove the vehicles. His burned out dealership does look bad, but the city let it all happen, Kendry said. They don't want to admit it. Okay, so he's in some serious troubles. The problem is this. If he doesn't clean up the lot, the city is going to start fining him. And so every day he's going to get bills coming in. You need to clean up the lot. This is not cheap. Cleaning up that car lot is going to cost a lot of money. And he has to do it soon. But the trouble is he can't. He can't do it because the insurance company is going to come in and say, oh, you removed the vehicles. Well, we can't do our adjustment now. So he's caught between a rock and a hard place here. He probably spends the night staring at his ceiling before he goes to sleep, wondering what he's going to do. Because every day is another day and it's another fine, and yet he cannot take action. Keep in mind, he has no guarantee that the insurance company will pay out anything. So it's not like he's going to be able to necessarily recover that money that he's losing. This is a horrible situation to be in. A lot of people just don't understand insurance. So let me give you an example with the car insurance. You go out and you get insurance, full coverage, and you look at it, and you have coverage included for $1 million in case you hurt somebody. But look at your coverage for the damage to the other vehicle. It may only be $100,000. And that doesn't do much good if you hit a BMW or a McLaren or a Ferrari. You get one of those cars, your insurance is not going to cover it. You're going to have to pay that out of your pocket. So do you really have full coverage? Is $1 million full coverage for medical? Well, maybe. But if you put somebody in the hospital long enough, it might not. If you're looking at something large like a car lot, you have to be careful about what goes into the agreement. For example, you might have $10 million in coverage for natural disaster. That makes sense. Something like a tornado could come in and it could clear out all of your cars. So it makes sense to a car dealership to get full coverage on natural disasters. But what about vandalism? Well, a car owner is not going to think that he's going to need $10 million in coverage for vandalism. Probably doesn't even think he needs $1 million coverage. Vandalism is typically people busting out windows, scratching up the paint, and very few people are ever going to be able to predict that somebody's going to come in and destroy every car you have on purpose. How often does that happen? So Anmal Kendry, who's the owner of CarSource, probably negotiated with the insurance company and figured that, well, any kind of vandalism I can fix. He has a mechanic's garage, so he could replace glass and probably can get cut rates on most of the type of damage. And so he probably figured that $2,000 per car is maximum, maybe even $1,000 per car. And he's probably going to figure out that not every car is going to get vandalized, so he's going to work in a negotiation there, and he might get like $200,000 coverage. That's not going to do you any good if your damages are $2.5 million. And you're not going to find out until after disaster hits what your true coverage really is. Sure, he could cover for $10 million everything, but that costs a lot of money. It's hard to compete with other car lots if you're shelling out huge amounts of money every month for insurance. You have to raise your rates to be able to cover that. That makes you less competitive. So if you are getting insurance, you undergo what they call risk management. You look at all of the potential risks, you find out how much you can pay, and you work a deal. And you can't play it too safe. You play it too safe and you'll never make any money. Play it too loose and you can have something like what happened to Anmal. I truly feel terrible for that man. The people who burned his cars, they don't realize what they did to somebody. He's going to be bankrupt. He has 3 businesses there. He's got 2 car lots and a garage, and he's probably going to lose all of them. So there's this sort of arrogance about the rioters who basically always say, well, insurance will cover it. They don't get it. Furthermore, another thing to be worried about is, what do they actually cover? You say, well, I paid $5,000 for this car here, and that's what I'm going to get. No, you're not. The car may have depreciated down to $4,000. That's what you're going to get. You're not going to get $5,000. You're not going to be able to replace that car. If you lose a business, the insurance is probably going to cover only a certain portion of your losses, if that. In which case, you're going to be out a lot of money. It's a truly dumb argument to say that rioting is okay because all of the property that they tear up is insured. It just doesn't work like that. I truly feel sorry for that guy. He's an immigrant too. Black Lives Matter burned his businesses to the ground. He's the target? Really? So a lot of business owners, they say, well, when I had a business, I had insurance. And therefore, I was covered. So my question to them is, oh, you lost your business and you filed a claim? Oh, well, no. Well, then how do I know you're covered? Well, it was in my policy. Yeah, guess what? You didn't know your policy all that well. You won't know your policy until, guess what? Something bad happens. I also want to mention, we hear it all the time that, well, these are lives at stake, and lives are much more important than property. But I find that argument to be really callous and arrogant. We're talking about people's lives, their livelihoods. They have spent decades building up these businesses, investing everything they have in terms of financial and emotional. And you just see it burn to the ground. The loss is devastating. It can tear apart families. It can lead to suicide. The heartbreak is sometimes incredible. And so this idea somehow, well, it's just property. Oh, those lives are much more important. I don't know. I mean, from a person who's lost everything they own, everything they have ever worked for, that protester's life may not feel too valuable to him. Like my video and subscribe to my channel. And please don't use this insurance will cover it argument anymore. Horrible thing to hear if you're in the position where you've taken on some major losses.